my goodness, it's Friday. We're super excited after having a week off. Gotta stretch off those bones. And then, man, oh man, we're super excited because we have, oh my goodness, ITCAFpodcast's own social media producer, the one, the only, Paula, joining us today on
Yes.
today's episode with
Yay!
307. How are you, Paula?
I'm doing so good. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's
Of
gonna be
course, of
exciting.
course.
You are the key demo. So
You are.
anytime that we
Yeah.
have the key demo on to give opinions, this is gonna be an interesting conversation for sure.
No, hopefully
Yes.
I bring a new perspective. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, this week is going to be a super fun show because the AMC CEO, Adam Aron, went on Matt Bellany's podcast, The Town, which I'm sure if all of you entertainment gurus out there are listening, you know of The Town. You know of Matt Bellany, once at The Hollywood Reporter, now over at Puck. Man, oh man, entertainment journalist galore. And he had, like I said, AMC CEO on, and they talked about the future of the cinematic experience, what he thinks is going to happen, what he has done that other theaters have not done before. Was it good? Was it bad? And everything in between. That's going to be a whole lot of fun to dive into. But then also, we're going to be talking about the race to the Oscars. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, man. The Venice Film Festival and a couple of others dropped this past week, and we're seeing ovations, right? We're seeing round of
Absolutely.
applauses.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Yeah, the film festival is always a fun time because that's like the official start of, right? There's rumors here, rumors there, but once the festivals start, once the biggies start, Venice and Telluride and all, then you know, yeah, now we're ramping up, now we're coming in, we're sliding in, it's that time, and yeah, it's so exciting because now. We'll talk about this a little bit, but sometimes I feel like the festivals can be a bit overhyped for certain movies, right? But they're built to be that way. So, but we'll talk about that because there were some really like exemplary films that are kicking off these festivals that look like they're for sure going to be in the conversation come early next year for the Oscars. So, yeah, I can't wait to dive into that as always.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Paula, any films that you're anticipating to see this Oscar season?
One film that I'm just like a big fan of the director is
Mhm.
Frankenstein. I love Guillermo del Toro. I'm
Oh,
very excited for that. Also, it was just an accident. I've seen a few of Jafar Panahi's movies because I actually took an Iranian cinema class last semester for my last, year in college. So I'm very
Mhm.
excited for that as well. And then I don't know, honestly. Most of these movies are pretty new to me, so I'm still trying to, find out what they're about. But I
yeah.
am excited for Hamnet as well.
Oh,
Mm.
I've heard good things. I've heard
Yeah,
good
Yeah.
things. The
same.
podcast I sent y'all today, we're talking heavily about that, and it's very much a tearjerker, I guess, a tearjerker.
Hmm.
But man, oh man, we'll dive deeper into all of these things later on the show. Now, let's get a little crazy. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Did y'all see that? What?
Let's just throw Scream 6 in there for like
It
my
was
favorite
good.
movie. It was really good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion, since the first one.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of VidCap Podcast. Oh my goodness, you guys know your host with the most for 307 episodes. Myself, J. Logan Austin, and of course, the one and only Dustin M. Bergman, aka The Mouth.
What's up?
Man, oh man. And then, of course, our special guest co-host this week, Paula. Did you have anywhere that people want to follow you or do anything on social media like that?
You could follow my Instagram. It's just my first and last name. There's an extra A at the end. Sorry, in between my first name and the last name, but yeah.
Fantastic. Before diving into the latest and greatest entertainment news that broke this past week, we first have to take care of some business. Please be sure to leave a rating on this show, comment below, and let us know what you actually think about this podcast. Because if you did not know, leaving a rating on this podcast helps this show get seen by more people who enjoy the entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. Us here at Crazy Ant Media are all about lending the helping hand, so that's what we are trying to do, so that's what we are asking you to do as well. Be sure to help a brother out, give a share, tell your mom, tell your grandma, anything and everything. Get a little crazy
That's
with it.
right.
It's a fun podcast, that's for sure. But we're super excited to dive into everything. But of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got a little something for a little bit of everyone. And then, of course, we are filmmakers ourselves. So if you want to find out more about our projects, head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can find more about our projects and about us personally. That is for sure.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, we're starting off this freaking episode with the Labor Day box office weekend. How was it? It's normally a slump this time of year, and this year it kind of did not slack when it came to the box office numbers. Box office at the Labor Day tends to be among the softest for movie-going times of the year, and the 2025 edition didn't disappoint. Overall, the 4 day stretch brought in roughly $82 million, and that's a 26% decline from
Yeah.
last year's holiday. And it's shaping up to be a a long wait between blockbusters, with the next major release not really being until Tron Ares that debuts about mid-October, October 10th. So, what's it gonna look like? That's for sure. I mean, we've been to the theaters this past couple weeks, and yeah, it's kind of slim pickings. That's for
There's
sure.
been a few times where I know both you and I have been the only people in the theater watching said film
Big
that we
facts.
were watching, and so empty seats is a reality, no doubt about it. But it's a little bit. It's different. It's if you're paying it, and when we dive later on into the whole AMC conversation, it gets really tricky sometimes, because here's some numbers over 2024 so far that it may, you're like, oh, it's 26% down. But so I broke it down a little bit. So the summer box office, like you said, is officially over, right? May started strong. It was actually up 76% versus last year, thanks to, of course, Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible. But that was it. Then we saw it slowly start to die down, despite industry pressure to hit the $4 billion milestone, which they thought was going to happen when it took off so big at the start. The summer tailed off to just $3.67 billion domestically. So summer 2025 was essentially flat with last year, which made $3.68 billion, so not a big difference, and down 10% obviously from the Barbenheimer fueled $4.09 billion. Now, this is crazy though. The $4 billion milestone, which was the norm from 2012 to 2019, and by the way, Disney dominated that decade, and that's why it was the norm for as long as it was. It's only been hit once in the past 5 years. Year-to-date box office through August sits at $5.88 billion. That's up over last year, even though the summer was down 26%. We're actually up 5% from last year. Attendance actually increased, which I'm like, where? As I just said, we were sitting in the theater alone. Where's attendance increasing? But apparently it did temporarily to 275 million admissions so far versus last summer. And the box office earnings are more evenly distributed. And this one makes sense to me. 11 films hit $100 million or more. That's up from 9 last year, instead of, we all remember, kind of last year and the year before, it was hugely lopsided, where Inside Out was a massive hit, nobody else was. Then Deadpool and Wolverine was a massive hit, nothing else was. So that made up for about 35% of last year's box office. Everybody else was just dingling. So that's interesting, right? We see they claim an increase in attendance, although things looked pretty empty. And is that year-to-date total, that up 5%, and we're going to dive into this in the AMC conversation too, because tickets cost more, and they're selling more event-type movies at IMAX. People are going to see them on the large screen, which, as we know, costs about $10 more than the normal ticket. Is that why we're up 5%? Or are they trying to fool us with this? Oh, look, no, attendance is up a little bit too. Is it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's trying to figure out what's the inflation cost, what's the inflation like viewership numbers, especially with, same day releases still in some
Yeah.
areas with some things, depending on the project. But then, trying to figure out the grouping, right? Because I mean, Paula, you are the key demographic that the studios are marketing their films for. So I kind of have a two-parter here for you. Did you go see any films this Labor Day weekend? And how many films have you seen in theaters specifically this year?
Okay. I did not see any movies this Labor Day weekend. The last movie I have seen in theaters was Weapons.
Mm,
That
Yeah.
was almost a month ago now. And unfortunately, I've actually only been to the theaters 10 times since
wow.
the beginning of the year, which I'm trying to up it, but with the prices of tickets and it's just hard. So
Ah.
we'll see. Yeah. There's definitely some movies towards the end of the year that I will be there day of, but as of right now, I'm just kind of coasting.
Uh,
Oh,
hmm.
completely agree. I mean, were there any films that you felt like, were directed towards you and your audience more than others? Like, do you felt like weapons or like certain things that maybe are promoted more on social media? Do you feel like those are more gravitating than other things that come out that you didn't had no idea that were coming out?
Yeah, for me, what makes me really want to watch a movie is the reception it gets on social media. So,
Hmm.
a movie that I probably wouldn't have seen if there wasn't a lot of buzz for was Weapons, but I was looking at the numbers and I was seeing, what Jordan Peele said about how he wanted the script and then it was taken from him. But, that drama also, made me excited. So I was like, okay, I want to see what the hype's all about. I'm gonna go see Weapons. I don't know if there was too many movies over the Labor Day weekend that I was like anticipating to see. If I could
Right.
choose, it would have been The Roses, but that's just because I'm a fan of Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. So I'm biased, but yeah.
I'm curious. Are you aware that that was a remake?
No.
Yeah, see, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
See,
I
time,
didn't know
time
that
yeah,
to
either. I
time to
didn't know that
bring in
I
the
either.
didn't
old
know that
guy
either.
for. It's actually a remake of a Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito film that they did way back in the day called The War of the Roses, which is the name
Interesting.
of the novel that these are based on. The War of the Roses. It's based on a novel. So yeah, when I first saw it,
Okay.
The Roses, I didn't know until I watched the trailer, and then I'm like, oh, this is a straight up remake of War of the Roses. Oh, okay, now I'm in. I kind of want to see it. It does
Mhm.
look really good though. I do think I might kind of check that out. It's interesting though that you brought up price, right? Because that is an issue, and we're gonna dive way deep into that in a little bit later on in the show. But I think that it is what keeps people away sometimes because it's undeniable that we are shifting, and it's nice to see that you went to see Weapons because we have shifted too. And let's talk about it a little bit, right? The summer box office started strong with Thunderbolts, like we said, Final Destination, and then just kind of died for a little bit, picked back up in July. My personal opinion, like if July doesn't happen and you don't have Jurassic World and Superman and Fantastic Four, we don't rebound and hit just shy of last year. We miss it by a mile if July doesn't happen, in my opinion. So, and the reason I'm saying that is because we have become kind of like a society or a culture that's gravitated to event films. We want to go see the big blockbuster film. It's the one we make sure we go see in the theater, and then all the rest of these ones, the weapons and the different suffer. It's end up like where I was by myself in the theater, or Logan was by himself in the theater. And that's unfortunate because I think there's a lot of great films that are out there that are not getting seen because we're in that mindset now. And I'm hoping, and it's funny that you brought up that it was social media buzz that made you go see that. I actually made a little post about that on social media about how that's part of the game now. Social media isn't just a thing that you can talk. It's literally a part of the marketing package now. And if a studio doesn't use it successfully for a film, that film ain't getting seen. And so you have to start to market on social media. And it, obviously that works, marketing on social media, and then you generate the buzz, and then people start retweeting, following, commenting, and then that word of mouth is everything in this industry, right?
Yeah, for sure. I will say also, like, at least for me, what really pushes me to want to go see a movie is honestly like if it's less of a risk. If I'm familiar with the director, if I think it's going to be, successful, I have a harder time seeing a movie if I'm unsure if I'll like it. So
Mm.
that's why some people will lean towards streaming because it's like, you know what, it's free, I'm at home, whatever. But to go out, to get the ticket, to take a chance, that's harder and it's making indie movies suffer. So
Well, that's a good point too. I mean, especially for the younger audiences
Yeah.
that are just trying to get into, the workforce, trying to finally start their lives as adults. Especially like you talked about with tickets being a little bit more expensive. Why would you risk, spending the money on a film that you don't know is going to be good or whether or not you're going to like it, rather than, just trying something out at home and then, either it be good or you can turn it off within 30 minutes and still, use the bathroom, press pause, all the good things. So yeah, that's a very
Exactly.
good point. Yeah, and I mean that's a thought process that, maybe I'm part of the older generation now that I just haven't thought about. Oh
Well,
my goodness.
you know what it is, Logan. I think it's sometimes we forget to come, and which is crazy because we talk about movies all the time. We go see movies all the time. We're like, we love movies. But I think sometimes we come at it as because we're in the industry and
Yeah.
we're filmmakers. So we will go see that random nobody's heard of the director film because we're filmmakers and we want to go see other filmmakers making, and we come at it from that standpoint instead of a fan standpoint. Because
Yeah.
I started thinking about that over the past few weeks. It's like, why am I the only one sitting here all alone watching this movie? Because I'm a fucking filmmaker and I love movies. I wasn't looking at it as a fan anymore. And I think maybe Paula brings up a good point. Like you said, if I come at it strictly from a fan outlook, would I go see it? Would I take a
Yeah.
chance on somebody that I don't know with a star that I've never heard of? And I think it's because we're filmmakers and we hope somebody will go see our movie with a person they've never heard of, kind of that we go support these artists and these movies. And like, yeah, it's a tricky situation. I will say though, for every one of those type movies that I go see that I just like, oh my God, that was awful. This is like, oh, there's 10 that knock it out of the park. And I'm like, man, people are missing out. They should really see this film. And I hope it finds a home on a streamer type films, right? And so it's unfortunate because I feel like, you do get those one or two that miss, but there's so many that are hitting that nobody are seeing. And that's sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, for example, I went and saw, Highest to Lowest with it's a Spike Lee directed film with Denzel Washington and ASAP Rocky, who you thought, would bring in a younger audience. I was the only one, well, no, I'll take that back. It was myself and an older couple that were in the theater because I'm guessing they were fans of Denzel Washington and or Spike Lee. So yeah, it was very interesting. And then that film was very mediocre at best. So I was, but as a filmmaker, like you were just talking about, Dustin, I was always looking for the good, even though like there was parts of it where I felt like the writing was kind of, I don't know, not professional in some certain aspects. I was still looking for the goodness in it, for the artist's creative vision that they tried to portray with the shots, with certain tones and things like that. But yeah, I mean, was it a good overall film that probably the mass audience would probably like? No, I don't think it
And
was.
you know what? This is what makes it so hard if you are the president of production at a studio trying to figure out what to greenlight and what not. Because, prime example, what you just said, highest to lowest, right? You've got an Oscar winning director, an Oscar winning lead actor, right? Legends, literally legends. You think, all in, this thing's going to knock it out of the park. And it completely bombs. And then on the flip side, you've got Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan in a far out there weird, nobody even knew it was a vampire flick movie that just ripped it up and became a huge hit. And so if you're a studio executive, you don't know. You're like, and I guarantee part of the reason they decided to release Highest to Lowest in theaters was because of the success of Sinners. They're like, shit, Ryan Coogler and Michael B., we got Spike Lee and Denzel Washington.
Denzel, yeah.
Boom. And then it just didn't. So when you're sitting there, head of a studio trying to figure out what to go to stream or what to put in theaters, what will work, what won't work, it doesn't matter if you have trusted names and trusted stars. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and so it's always a risk. And God bless them, Man, this industry is tricky as hell nowadays. You just don't know, right? Like, I mean, come on, they're gonna take a bath on Highest to Lowest, and no way. I'm
Oh yeah,
assuming.
it's already on the platform. It's already on streamers. So
Yeah,
like it was only released in theaters for 2 weeks before it already hit Apple TV Plus.
yeah, and what you had to pay Denzel and Spike, I'm sure alone, you'll
Yeah.
never recoup their salaries, let alone the overall budget for the film. That's just never gonna happen.
No, completely agree. Yeah, it's very interesting too because like I'm trying to think about, stars that the younger audience and the younger generation gravitate towards, right? Or directors. Do younger people even know directors' names anymore besides like Chris Nolan, I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. I don't know if it's that big of a impact culturally, the cinematic filming experience. I don't know if movies are important to the current day generation that are in their youth. That is the key demographic. I'm worried that they're not as important as when I was growing up or Dustin when you were growing up. So yeah, what filmmakers or what actors or actresses talent attract you to a certain movie, Paula?
Now, I think Pedro Pascal has been
Mm,
everywhere, and
yeah.
people have been supporting him because he is Pedro Pascal. When it comes to directors, I don't know. Maybe this is like my cinephile brain coming out, but like I think of Luca Guadagnino.
Mhm.
Mm,
Um, I want to say Chloe Zhao, but Eternals was not that great. I mean, like I liked it, but the reception was mixed. And I do want to say Ryan Coogler as well. Like Sinners
yep.
was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else. I don't know because like I like movies that people that aren't that into them could name a director. That isn't like Steven Spielberg or someone. So yeah, I'm not sure. I will also say there was a TikTok that I saw a while ago about like how there's no movie stars anymore
Mm,
when you would just say like I'm gonna go see this actress movie instead of like the title of the movie, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like they'll say I'm seeing the latest Julia Roberts movie. No one says that anymore. They're saying the title of the movie. There's no movie stars that people are going out to watch. So I don't know. Food for thought. That's just something that I saw that and I was like, huh.
Well,
I don't
it's
know if
true though.
no, it is true, and it's interesting because the couple of directors that you listed, the reason I like them, and I'll throw Nolan in there too, even though he's a pretty big name, is that they make films that they want to make and they take risks, right? Even we're gonna talk about Bugonia later. Those are
Yeah.
filmmakers that are like, I'm gonna make the film that I want to make, and you're either gonna get it or you won't, and I don't care because I'm a filmmaker and this is what I'm gonna do. And they've been really successful at it. In my opinion, Ryan Coogler is one of not just this generation's, but in a very long time, generational type director who is
Yeah.
bringing original content and original stories that for the most part are drama driven. Even when he does Black Panther, it was a drama driven superhero film. And he's telling stories. He's old school in the way that he does it, which is why I also like Christopher Nolan. That is an old school filmmaker that still shoots on film, still uses practical effects. He created a bomb, y'all, for like Oppenheimer. Didn't do CGI. Like, those are the type filmmakers I gravitate to. The people that are still in it for the art, for the story about it, because that's true film to me. And I think maybe that's why we've lost, like what you were saying, Paula, movie stars or named like Spielberg-esque directors where you knew the name. You were going because you knew the name of the director. Oh my God, I've got to catch the latest Spielberg film. I think that we've fallen out of that now, and so you don't care about it anymore, and that I think that might be playing into it. And even when you get one that might hit for a little bit, it's still not guaranteed. Like, look at Sydney Sweeney, who was like the it girl everywhere. She couldn't miss everything she was in, and then all of a sudden she can't hit. Everything's been a bomb for her lately. They're even moving her Christie movie to award season because they're terrified to put it out now like the plan was because she's had 3 bombs in a row. So they're like, oh,
Yeah.
let's move this thing to the award season because we want her to have a shot. So even when you're that person, it doesn't last very long nowadays, and so you're in and out quick, and I think that definitely is playing into what we're seeing at the theaters as well about people going and not going.
Yeah. I'll also say that when a star is in the spotlight for too long, because of the internet, people get sick of it so fast and they're like, I don't want to keep seeing Sydney Sweeney or Pedro Pascal on my screen. Like we've had enough. So it's hard to, retain that star quality because if you're in it for too long, the people will turn on you.
Well, and no,
It's awful.
Logan, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. I would go out on a limb now and say we have one legitimate movie star still left who's
I
been at
guess.
it for decades.
Oh, never
And
mind.
and the reason being is because he loves what he does. He is a
Mhm.
cinephile. He is a true movie fan who wants people to see movies, not on their couch, but in a theater. And he's been that way his whole life. You don't get to be, in your 70s still risking your life doing your own stunts unless you love what you do. And I
Talk
think
about
that's
the
the reason.
Scientologist.
Yeah, yeah. Set aside anything you might have
Gotcha.
about him personally or not personally, right? Forget all that. This is a man who loves film, loves the industry, loves what he does, and he's been around for 50 years, almost 50 years. And every single one of his films, with the exception of, I think, like maybe two or three, have made more than $100 million at the box office. He is the only, in my opinion, true movie star still left that can still bring people into a theater. And I think it's just because of his enthusiasm for film. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to, you don't last in this industry. Even the biggest stars will have a 4 or 5 year run and then disappear, right? But somehow Tom's still, I mean, you go all the way back to Outsiders when he's a little kid. Now he's like damn near 70 and still hanging off airplanes and bringing people into the movies. Like, I mean, you got to give him credit for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise. He's talking about Tom Cruise,
Yeah,
everybody.
Tom
Yes.
Cruise.
But I mean, I don't know, man. This day and age, this generation is awesome. Like, I used to be a Timothy Chalamet hater. Now I love Timothy Chalamet. And I mean, you have Tom Holland, you have Zendaya, you have,
Oh,
Lakeith Stanfield, you have so much young talent that I mean Denzel Washington's son,
yeah, John David Washington. Yeah,
John David Washington.
yeah,
He's great talent. Haven't seen anything of him recently. Austin Butler. But I also think Austin Butler is kind of what you were just talking about, Paula, where like maybe when Elvis came out a couple years ago, people were seeing him like crazy, so much stuff. But then since then, people got sick of him because we've seen that like he took like a secondary role in Dune. It was still a great part.
Yeah.
He still like, was able to act his ass off, but it wasn't like Timothy Chalamet is obviously the quarterback in that situation. But then you have Bike Riders, which was more like an art house, regular studio flick, mid budget. And then you had, like what we just had with Caught Stealing with Zoe Kravitz, that was
right.
also like a art house, mid budget type of film. So yeah, I do think you have a point. Like these actors and these talents, like even though they work consistently, they need to, and their agent need to choose wisely on what they do when it comes to blockbuster success and critical success, because there was always the old saying or the old phrase, do one for the studio and then do one for the art.
Right.
And I feel like that's probably the groove that this talent needs to be in right now, because if you have your fans, your day ones, your ride or dies, they're going to be with you for the box office. They're going to be with you for the art house. So to have that balance, I feel like is probably beneficial for that staying power to stay on that pedestal of, a movie star, so that you can continue moving forward. But yeah, that's a very interesting point because, I mean, when they're marketing for a film, you're right. Like you do get it's thrown in your face.
Yeah.
Like there's so much advertising thrown in your face through social media, through regular marketing streams and campaigns, like just showing the trailers and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of
Well,
crazy the world we live in. But I mean, final food for thought, what are we looking for to bring audiences back into the theaters? I think what everybody's kind of been talking about, more tentpole movies. I think it is a necessary evil. We need more tentpole movies to bring people back in because I'm what we've been talking about with, only one person in a theater watching the film. And then, I mean, we have also been talking about less show times to where people will pack out a theater rather than having one person in a theater at a particular showtime to where, there's less opportunities to see the film. So more people will see the film in that tighter span, if that makes sense.
Well, I think you brought up Zendaya and John David Washington, and I just want to make a point here about both of those are Oscar-worthy actors.
Mhm.
Okay, and I don't think that I think there has to be a shift in how you market because I don't fully agree with you on it has to be tent poles that lure them in. I think that the difference between a Michael B. Jordan and a John David Washington or a Zendaya is how they're marketed. Ryan Coogler refuses to go anywhere but theater. My shit has to be in a theater, and you have to have it at this many show days or this many things, and this is how I want you to market it. Where if John David Washington and Zendaya, Malcolm and Marie, that was an Oscar-worthy film with two Oscar-worthy performances from an Oscar-worthy director, Sam Levinson, that nobody heard of.
Watched it.
No, me too, and I loved it. But unless you went
Yeah, it
and
was
found it, right, you didn't see it. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
No.
that was the first real, I think, outside of Euphoria, obviously, where she was hesitate, kind of, okay, I'm going to take a step here or there. That was like the first, I'm an adult and I'm going to do an adult role type thing and bring it straight in. And it was the first glimpse at her true acting power. And,
Yeah.
but nobody saw. So I think part of the necessary change needs to be, if you know you got the people, you have to figure out how to market the people to get people to see those movies, because that movie would have done really well in theaters, I think, had it been marketed properly towards the theaters. And I mean, so it's disappointing. And I think I keep going back to Ryan Coogler, but Ryan Coogler is brilliant at making a studio market his shit and get people to see it. So I think that's part of it also.
Yeah. About you, Miss
I'll
Paula.
say with Malcolm and Marie, the reason that I watched that movie was because it was Zendaya, because it
Yep.
was Sam Levinson, because I had seen Euphoria, and I was like, okay, I trust him and I trust her, and I'm also a fan of, I'm blanking on the name.
John David
But-
Washington. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's the reason that I went out to see it, because I trusted the cast. So I don't know. I mean, it really is that star quality that we aren't seeing too much of these days.
But if you weren't
in
a
my
fan of
opinion.
Euphoria, if you hadn't been watching Euphoria, would have you even known about the film?
No.
Ex-
No, and if it
exactly
wasn't-
my
if it-
point.
If it wasn't for Euphoria, if it wasn't for Zendaya, if they casted someone else, I would not have seen that movie.
Right, because
Truth be
nobody
told, like,
knows who
yeah.
Sam Levinson is, or nobody's paying attention to that unless they were on board with Euphoria, which is why I'm
Exactly.
saying the strategic shift in the marketing has to happen, because there's a lot of talent out there that people don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It really is, man. It really is. But yes, I mean, the cinematics of the box office, the audience trying to gravitate people to bring back to the theatrical experience has been quite difficult over the past, 3, 4 years, half a decade, basically, since after the pandemic. Everything is kind of tiptoeing back up to where we want to be pre-pandemic levels. I mean, 2026 and 2027 look amazing when it comes to their film slates. I know we've been sharing some stuff on the ITCAF podcast account from that, and boy, oh boy, hopefully, before coming into 2025, everybody was like, survive till 25, survive till 25. Well, no, like, especially 27, survive till 27, because 27 looks amazing. That's for sure. But I mean, let's talk about theaters and let's talk about the cinematic experience, because this past week, or maybe it was like a week and a half ago, AMC Theaters CEO Adam Aron, man, oh man, he went on Matt Bellany's podcast, The Town, and talked about the cinematic experience, trying to get people back in theaters, and his rival Netflix, because he has a bone to pick with them about, of course, their theatrical release window and how they don't really treat theaters well and things like that. So we made a few notes going through this interview. It was about an hour long, and we want to touch on some key topics. The first one, it kind of blew my mind. I was absolutely terrified when I heard this number. They confirmed that they're lucky if they get 15% of the theaters filled every weekend. That's terrifying. That right there is partially why I feel like the movie industry is dying
And
because
he
not a lot of people are going.
and he was hesitant. He even said 14%'s more realistic,
Yeah.
15%'s lucky. And
Yeah.
and but I have a theory on that. And this is why I said when I was listening to this interview and I teased it on our Instagram live, I disagree with almost everything this man says is
Mhm.
you know why only 15% of the seats are filled? Because you have 5,000 fucking seats. Like no, you can't. When you have a Cineplex that's got 17 screens showing a film 72 times a day, you are never going to fill that to capacity. It's just never going to happen. Unlike back in the day when you went to the movie theaters and it was one screen, or it was at most 4 screens, and it was spread out about how often you could see a film. You were literally waiting in lines around the building to get in, offering people money to sit in their seat or sit on the floor just to get in to see a movie because seats were limited. I think that part of the problem is the Cineplex culture. It's like everything in society where if something clicks, we've got to explode it. We've got to build it bigger, better, faster, stronger. And it's like not always. And this has clearly backfired. They saw an opportunity where some blockbuster films were selling out and their lines were around the buildings and there's like, maybe we need more space. Maybe we need more. Okay, maybe you did need an additional screen. Not 12 additional screens. It was just an overcorrection to not having enough seats for a blockbuster film that has now turned into what I believe was the ground floor of the problem of lack of attendance in the film. And it played out heavily during COVID when all of a sudden now you had 10 to 15 screens in your building and nobody was able to go. And now you're like, uh-oh, right? Where you would have been losing some money if it was still only 1 or 2 screens, 600 seats as opposed to 6,000 seats in your building. But it would have been manageable as opposed to what COVID did in these giant cineplexes. That's just my thought on it. I think part of the key is downsizing. It's necessary if we're going to see any type of a rebound to pre-COVID attendance. I think downsizing has to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, especially, we've been in these big market theaters. They hold like 100,
Yeah.
200, 300 people sometimes. Like in LA and New York, these theaters are absolutely massive. And then you still have as many showtimes as you do there as you do in fucking Biloxi, Mississippi. That,
Right.
some days in the middle of the day, you're only selling 3 or 4 tickets or 3 or 4 groups of tickets. It's one of those things where I think you're right. You do have to downsize, but you also have to do what you think is best for the theaters because he made a point. Of course, we talked about a week or two ago this Netflix film that came out, K-pop Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
It came out. It was already released on Netflix, and they released a sing-along version for a theatrical experience for the fans to go and, sing along to a film that they have already seen, which is kind of crazy to me that worked successfully. They brought in about 18 to 20 million dollars that weekend over 2 days. But AMC decided to opt out of even showing this film. So I'm wondering because AMC is one of the biggest theater chains in the world.
The biggest,
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if they would have shown this, they probably would have made a decent amount of money because of showing this, because they haven't worked with Netflix since Knives Out Glass Onion in 2022. Now they are going to be working with Greta Gerwig for Narnia and Netflix, that film in late of 2026, reports say, but from this interview, it's more about because they're appreciative and they're loyal to IMAX, and it's an IMAX film or it's an IMAX camera that they're shooting the film on. But still, I think that is a missed opportunity because he said he has standards and he has a backbone. It's all about making money, especially right now in Hollywood, because everybody needs to make money. Everybody needs to make profit. And I was just so disappointed that he completely took this opportunity off the table to make money from this film.
Well, I mean, his argument is that if anybody doesn't know, his beef, he's good friends with Scott Stuber, who used to be the
Yeah.
head of Netflix's film production. But the initial beef came from Reed Hastings and Ted Sarandos, and it's the 45-day window, which
Hmm.
Netflix regularly abuses. They say that they're going to abide by the 45-day window, and then they'll put a movie in the theater and then take it out 8 days later, not following through with the 45-day window. And that's where AMC has the problem. They're like, if you say you want it in theaters, you're going to have to abide by that 45-day window. Otherwise, it's not worth it for us. And I don't know, Logan, I kind of agree with you. It's like, I get you want to hold true, you want 45 days because you feel like you can make the most money. It's the best opportunity. But, when you need money, maybe you take those 2 days, and make some money as opposed to holding firm to the standard of the 45 days. So yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. And we've talked about this too. And I think that when I talk about downsizing, because let's face it, these cineplexes, they're giant buildings now, right? And Paul, I'm real curious with your thoughts on this, because I'm bringing this up because of what you said earlier, with the tentpole movies and blockbuster movies, about how you want to go see them. I think that the solution is, because people do pack out theaters to go see tentpole movies. That's evident. Superman and Fantastic Four and Jurassic World. These were the drivers this season for people showing up at the theater. And people are going to see them in IMAX and the RPX theaters. So I think what you do is, with the downsize, is you take these buildings that you've got 17 screens in, and you get rid of 10 of those screens, 12 of those screens, consolidate back down to the 3 or 4 movie screens, and then take that space and give yourself an IMAX theater or an IMAX and 2 and 3 RPX theaters, so that you have the capacity for those tentpole movies. So when people aren't waiting around the building to get in, you have the space for those tentpole movies that you can charge the higher price tickets for, and you still have the space for the regular films, for the films that we want to get people back into. And I think that's your best shot of downsizing while still maintaining the ability to capitalize on the tentpole movies. What do you think?
I definitely think that's a good idea. I don't know though. I mean, at least like where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So like the movies that I'm seeing, like if I try to watch it the day it comes out, I have no chance. I have to have, booked ahead of time. So like I think the way that I would maybe think about doing it is like for the first week or so that a movie comes out, keep it at capacity, how it is right now. And then afterwards, start smushing times together, start accommodating. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
it is very interesting too, because you're trying to accommodate everyone. But I mean,
Yeah.
what we were talking about a little bit earlier when it comes to bringing people back to the cinematic experience, it's, people are wanting to see the 4GPX, the
yeah.
RPX. They want to see the IMAX. They want the better theatrical experience. Dustin and I are going on this little tear right now of researching and going back and learning about historical old Hollywood. The reason that Mr. Fox was so successful in the theater chain early on, go back and watch Titans on Netflix to learn about the early days of the theatrical experience in the studios and things like that. The reason why Fox was so successful is because he made sure that his theaters were bigger and better and cleaner and more attainable and more, pretty to look at. He wanted it to be the best experience sitting in a movie house. And that's why he was successful in New York in those early days, because of that. So that's kind of what IMAX theaters are. That's what our RPX theaters are the 4DX and all of these different things. It's that theatrical experience that is different that people should gravitate more to if they had the opportunity to.
And that's the key word. You just nailed it on the head. That's why when back in the golden age of Hollywood, even though you would go to a theater and it's literally only one screen, it's not that Fox had more seats than the rest of the theaters around the country. It was the better seats. It was the
Yeah.
experience, right? That you wanted to bring the family there. You were proud to bring it. It was a big night out. It was a big show. You got dressed up because it was an experience. And that is what we're lacking now. It's not an experience anymore unless you're sitting in an RPX theater, unless you're sitting in an IMAX theater. So again, it just goes back to my point I'm trying to make. It's not about the size and how many you have. It's about how good it is. I think that you'd see far more people packing out your theater if you only had one or two screens, if they were the best one or two screens in that state or in that city, as opposed to 17 screens where people are uncomfortable sitting or they can't get what they want. You know, the environment sucks. It's dirty floors. It's whatever. You've got to bring back the experience of the film, which is where I think we're lacking. And if you can do that, which AMC is clearly trying, if I'm not mistaken, they were the first to integrate to the reclining chairs and make it more big, comfortable, even the couch type one. So if you are out on a date, you know, you and your a significant other are literally together as if in a comfy couch situation, as opposed to these awkward tight chairs that you can't fit in and you got to pull the arm up to be able to cuddle and, like, you know. So AMC is, they're smart with that, but we need to keep building that. And because I think that is, as a kid, for me, that's what it was. That's what made it so special. I liked getting kind of dressed up and going and having to walk up to the actual box office and buy my ticket and go with the family or a group of friends and have this experience. And it's not even like that anymore. I just go to my phone, reserve my ticket, and then I go show up and I sit in this chair, and it's like, it's not the same. Maybe
You're
once
lucky
a
if you
year.
even get physical tickets anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you have to, like, you know, and because you and I, we save our tickets. It's like Regal will give you the ticket shaped picture. I'll print it out and cut it and, like, look, I've got an actual ticket.
Right.
It's like, you shouldn't have it just takes away from all that. And, you know, if all you're getting is once or twice a year where you can get that packed out IMAX theater with a giant crowd and you get those Avengers type reactions and, like, whoa, and you're feeling like Superman, you know. But if that's only once or twice a year with a couple of movies that hit, that's like, I want that experience every time I go to a movie, and I'm not getting it. I'll be honest, I'm not getting it.
I think the last time I had a reaction, like an experience like that in a theater, was probably when Avengers Endgame came out, and nothing has compared since.
That's just and that was I
Completely agree.
Last I
Cause
can
it
remember.
felt so authentic too. Like even going to Marvel movies after that, like the cheers at the crowd, and like sometimes it feels forced. Like even like with going to Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the first big one after Endgame, and even when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield popped up on screen, the screams and cheers felt a little forced. And when Deadpool and Wolverine came, I mean, the screams and cheers, they were, I feel like, halfway genuine, halfway a little forced, but it's weird because like the culture has gotten to a point where, like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to cheer. Yes, this is where I'm supposed to be quiet. Yes,
Right.
this is where I'm supposed to clap.
It's not a real experience. It's a generated experience. You're told what the experience should be.
Yeah, that's what it kind of felt like after Endgame. But you know, we're trying to get back to a point where hopefully, you know, we can have that genuine, authentic reaction to things once again. But I will say though, AMC, they're not afraid to try things. Old Adam Aron there. Some good, some bad, because we do know that AMC has led the way in many different things when it comes to the theatrical experience. Like the first being that it probably annoys the heck out of every single one of us. It's the ads, the commercials that are in between the trailers. That is crazy. That's absolutely wild. And then they come at it from a standpoint where, like, well, if you don't want to see the ads, here's the specific time that the movie starts to where you don't have to see the ads, but you're also not going to see the trailers. I think,
which angers the studios. Like,
yeah, you're contradicting yourself both ways. Like you're trying to appease the studio, but you're also trying to appease the fan at the same time. It's like, especially when like a couple of years ago when there was so many like so many crypto
Yeah.
commercials that were out, like Matt Damon selling crypto and like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon doing their Dunkin' commercials and things like that. Like I'm not going to the movie theater to see these ads that I see every day on broadcast television. So like I said, that's the bad, but I do think the good is they are implementing these discount days like Tuesdays and Wednesdays to try to bring people back in. So I think that is pretty cool. I do like that. But another one that they moved away from was the tiered pricing for the best seat selection.
Yeah.
Paula, I don't know if you remember this. It happened a couple of years ago. It was right after the pandemic, where basically the best seat in the house they're going to be charging extra for. He says it was kind of successful while they were implementing it, but the team decided to move in a different direction because there was so much backlash. And
Yeah, I
which I
think
don't,
that's stupid.
yeah,
No,
it's
I
so
agreed.
would not
dumb
want to do that. No,
No.
because
because
you
you're watching
can,
the same movie.
yes.
I don't like that personally. No.
Yeah, it's so weird because you can like literally buy a cheaper ticket, and then if nobody's in there, you can
Yeah,
move to the
exactly.
better seat. Like you would literally have to have a security guard in there enforcing seating.
Well, and I
Like,
don't know if
Right.
you guys are like me, but I sit in the same seat every single time. Like I do. Like no matter what theater I'm in or what movie I'm seeing, I have a very specific this is where I like to sit in the theater to
Right.
watch the movie. And if you're gonna tell me I have to pay more money because this is the seat
Yeah,
I like to
no.
sit in, I'm gonna tell you F off. I'm not gonna pay more money. This is my seat. Like so it's one of those. But you bring up a good point, Paula. It's like whether you're sitting in my prized seat, last row, middle, boom,
Mhm.
or if you're sitting that guy against the wall on the far side of the aisle, it's the same movie. So it's
Yeah.
like to have to pay that just seems absurd to me. The other thing that they're trying, and I think because it's funny because he brought up the price point, and I think the price point is the tricky part of this one. Is he wants to take credit for the first movie subscription thing where you can do the monthly or the annual thing, and won't dive way into how he takes credit or not credit for that or whatever, but they have a pretty good subscription model. Okay,
yeah,
it's not
AMC
bad.
A-list or
Yeah,
whatever.
A list, yeah, but he said that it's a little bit cheaper, that they went with a $20 model and MoviePass at the time was only doing 10, so they were kicking their ass because it was so much cheaper or whatever. So they brought down their price a little bit, to try to compete with that or whatever. But Regal is $20 a month. And Regal is killing on it because there's no restrictions. See, the problem that I still have with AMC's A-list is there's still some restrictions. You can't see a movie numerous times, or you can only see it once on opening weekend, or you can't see, two movies in one day within this time span or whatever. They've got little restrictions to it, where Regal, you pay your $20, you can literally walk in that morning and stay there all day and just watch movie after movie after movie. And whether that's a different movie all day or the same movie all day, they don't care. You can come, there's no restrictions on opening weekend. There's no restrictions on what theater you sit in, whether it's IMAX or regular. It's just $20 and you get everything. And they're successful. They're being successful with it. And now they kind of changed and they made an offer where you can do month to month or 3 months at a time, as opposed to when you first signed up, you had to commit to a whole year.
Right.
And they're seeing some success. And I use that. I'm a Regal Unlimited user, and I can tell you that like in July, when I saw all those blockbuster movies, right? Boom, 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 boom. I paid what everybody else was paying for one ticket. What they paid to go see Jurassic World, I paid to go see Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, Superman, F1. That works. So I think AMC and these other theaters have to figure that out. They have to look at Regal and go, how are they doing it? How are they seeing a profit off of it? Because if you do it incorrectly, I can see where you lose money off of it. Because you're not getting $20 a pop for every movie they go see. You're only getting $20 a month from one person, right? But somehow Regal is making it work. And I think that's the model that the rest of these theaters have to look at and go, how are they making that work? Where are they making up the money? So I don't know, just my thought. What do you guys think on that?
Ladies first.
So, my brother, I'm pretty sure has AMC. And the way that I heard about it was he told me, I think word of mouth is the best way to market something. If you hear that you're doing something and it's working out for you, you tell 3 friends, those 3 friends tell 3 friends, and that's how it
Hmm.
explodes. So, especially for Regal, if you tell them, hey, I saw 5 movies in one day, paid $20, you tell someone, they'll be like, okay, I want to get in on that. And then they get it, and then it spreads. That's how I think it works for Regal. For
Yeah.
AMC, it's, they're less lucky in that sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very interesting time too because like Movie Pass came out and completely saturated
Yeah.
the industry, and that was such a crazy situation where they started showing blackout times where you couldn't see every movie. It had to be a Movie Pass affiliated film and like all of this stuff. So, I mean, I appreciate his effort of trying to come back with something like that. But with you still having the AMC versus Regal paying the same price, but you're getting so much more value with Regal than you are with AMC. Yeah, but I mean, and also too, like, not everybody is like crazy cinephiles like we are
No,
going to go
yeah.
see
Exactly.
2 movies in a day. And I mean, sometimes there is only one movie to see in a month,
And
like or September specifically. There's probably, what we say, Dustin, the other day, like 1 or 2 movies that
yeah,
we
yeah.
wanted to see in
And
September.
to
So
be
nothing
fair,
crazy.
that's an outstanding point, Logan. That's a fair point. Unless you're somebody that just like loves going to the movies, relentlessly
Yeah.
goes to the movie, it's not worth it. It's
Yeah.
better
No.
for you to just pay for whatever movie you want to go see. But if you are that person that takes your family regularly, or that you go see every movie that comes out or whatever, it's totally worth it. And it's funny because he brought up in that conversation with Matt about how, because Matt kind of was poking at him about, yeah, you don't have to sit in a theater and see ads for AMC, A-list 14 times. He's like, why do I have to watch an ad about AMC when I'm already at AMC? And I will say
Mhm.
Regal does a good job with that. Regal Unlimited, you see it one time. They say,
Yeah.
hey, check out Regal Unlimited. Scan the QR code and check it out, and that's it. Now, granted, I mean, we still get 30 minutes of other ads and all, but they only do their own marketing once. And where AMC does, you kind of get hammered with it.
They love that Nicole Kidman
Yeah,
ad. That
yeah.
Nicole
So,
Kidman
Yeah.
ad is like the best thing ever, and I love how they joke about that too.
but
Mhm.
But yeah, final thoughts about this conversation. Um, he came off in a way that you felt too comfortable with him to where he came off kind of sleazy. Am I the only one who got that vibe
yeah,
from the Adam?
Yeah.
Like I feel like,
I will also say I wasn't the biggest fan of the journalist. I was like, okay, I
oh
know this
yeah,
guy's like a multimillionaire or whatever, but like you're
yeah.
still kind of pushing him around a bit. I'm like,
Oh
can
yeah,
we be civil? I
Matt's a
don't know.
dick. Yeah, Matt's
Yeah.
kind of an asshole. But sometimes you have to be because as Hollywood professionals, they like to only show you the good and not show you the bad. So he kind of has to push a little bit. But I
Yeah.
agree because there's some stuff on there I'm like, bro, you're absolutely wrong. Like, there's no way. But yeah, I mean, I will say though, I'm glad he pushes the boundary a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Well, I will say, I'll give Adam credit for that. He did say, no, you're actually right about that. I
Yeah,
was where Matt will never admit when he's wrong. He just doesn't
never.
admit when
Oh
he's
my
wrong. But
gosh.
Adam did. He was like, Matt, I don't want to say this, but you were actually right on that point. You
Yeah.
you you were, but then I like, because he pushed back a little bit, but you weren't exactly right. Here's what you were right
Exactly.
about, and here's what you were wrong about, kind of a thing. So I think, yeah, it has to be that balance. But my final thought on it is, and I'm going to stick to this, and I'm going to do my damnedest to just keep pushing and make this happen. We have to downsize. We have to get back to the smaller theater. The smaller the theater, bigger the experience. That's
Mm.
my tagline, if you will. Smaller theaters, bigger experiences. And that is what's going to drive people back to. And I will hold that until I die. That is what I believe is the future of cinema. Is we have to see that, and I think that's the future of the industry. You see it. Logan and I talk about it all the time. The consolidation of the studios again. You know, the golden age of Hollywood started off with the 5 majors and a couple of minis. And with all these consolidations and these mergers, and we're seeing that consolidation back down to where pretty soon here, within the next 5 years or so, I think we're going to be back to, we're going to have 5 majors, a couple of minis, the A24s and the Neons, but you're going to have the 5 majors that dominate Hollywood. And I think even they got on board with, maybe we need to just reel this back in and consolidate a little bit, get back to what we do best. So I think that's my final thought on it. That's where I think the future of cinema and the theater system has to be.
Yeah, for sure. Paul, you have any final thoughts on that conversation? Was it interesting? Was it something that you would listen to on your own?
Personally, no. But I always find it interesting to try to get out of my comfort zone and, you know, learn about something that is not necessarily my number one topic. I liked it. I learned a lot. I don't know if I would, you know, go back again, but yeah.
I love the honesty.
Yeah,
we need that. We need more of that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny. Last point of conversation, and I mean, we don't have to spend too much time on this because we only know ovation times. We don't know anything else.
Yeah.
It is the 98th Academy Awards race. It started up this past week, the most wonderful time of the year, the fall film season, that's for sure.
Yes.
When the stars descend on the scenic locales across the globe, launching the awards campaigns that they might eventually lead to the Oscar stage. The 3-week whirlwind begins August 27th when the 2025 Venice Film Festival launches. It kicked into high gear on August 29th with the start of the Trilude Film Festival, an intimate event in the Colorado mountains that traditionally doesn't even reveal its lineup until literally the very last minute. And then, of course, comes the Toronto International Film Festival, or TIFF, as a lot of people know it by, on September 4th, a vulnerable launch pad for eventual Academy Award winners. Man, oh man. Over the past week, we've seen a lot of stuff, right? Definitely the biggest point of conversation, I think, was The Rock, in my opinion. That's what my feed was filled with. You know, the smashing machine coming out of A24 about, you know, one of the original UFC fighters way back in the day. Yeah, I think, you know, it looks like an amazing film, first off. But I'm very interested to hear y'all's thoughts because just from that, again, we're still very early on. Just from that, it seems like The Rock is going to be in the Best Actor category, right?
Which is interesting because what I paid attention to is, and I'm looking and I'm following everything, it did get a 15-minute standing ovation, brought him to tears. It was a very emotional moment. Apparently he had gone through quite a bit, took himself off of the steroids and lost weight and is like attacking this whole new thing to try to be a more serious actor and to take more serious roles and to get in these things. And he's clearly very emotional about it. And while he's getting all of the attention, you know, he is definitely in the conversation for Best Actor. The film isn't. Emily Blunt isn't. You know, in fact, the Smashing Machine, if you look at the Vegas odds and you look at the industry people talking, it's not even in the conversation. He is, but the film is not even brought up. So I'm a little worried about that. Like, you know, why is the film not? I mean, you've got him and apparently an Oscar-worthy performance. Emily Blunt never disappoints. So what's wrong with the film that we're not hearing about the director? We're not hearing about Emily. We're not and is it one of those situations where the only reason that The Rock is being talked about is because of the drastic physical transformation? You know, now you can't, his physical transformation as much as the 60-pound weight loss and all that, that's not as evident in the film because he didn't lose that much in the film. But the prosthetic, I mean, you can't even tell it's The Rock unless you know it's The Rock. So my concern is it the performance or is it the transformative part of the performance that's getting all of the buzz? Because it always gives me warning signs when you're talking about only one thing and yet you can't bring up a good thing about the film itself. I'm like, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, is that a potential danger sign for it? Like,
I totally agree. I think Dwayne Johnson is someone that if you said last year he's being considered for the Oscars, you'd be like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
But because he's not playing himself again, like now there's buzz. I think it's very easy for someone like Dwayne Johnson, who's been pigeonholed, to
Right.
play someone that's different, and now it's like all eyes are on him. I don't want to be a cynic about it, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant. So
I get that. Yeah, for sure. For me, this film reminds me so much of Mickey Rooney is the wrestler.
Yeah.
That that was like the 2000 teens somewhere in there, where I think it won Best Picture and he won Best Actor. Or either vice versa, one or the other. But yeah, the film really reminds me of that. And with A24 taking this completely different direction. Of course, they're still releasing, their art house, out there, make you think flicks, but they're also kind of doing these more commercial films, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Eddington, I wouldn't say was commercial, but it was current, it was timely, it was about COVID and the pandemic, with two very well-known actors like Pedro Pascal and Joaquin Phoenix. But I mean, then you have a film like a couple years ago, like Civil War, which is a true, like, what the fuck if this could happen? But I mean, Warfare, that was an A24 flick. That was, not your typical military film, but still more mainstream than what other films had come out before. So yeah, it is a very interesting time for A24 and specifically that film because they are kind of branching out into a new lane as a production company and as a studio. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But another one that has been making the rounds and I'm truly freaking excited about is Begonia. That
Yeah.
one looks freaking insane, man. This one looks like, what an A24 film should be, right? I mean, you got Emma Stone's doom-laden black comedy thriller, subfilled and delighted at the Venice Film Festival on Thursday night, drawing in an arousing 6-minute standing ovation. This is 2 years after the critically acclaimed art house film, of course, that won her Best Actress, Poor Things. Jesse Plemons is also in this film. This one, I feel like, is a true contender. Just from the first initial trailer that I've seen from it, I'm like, this is what I think about when I think about an Oscar-nominated film.
Yeah, and the difference being of like what we were just talking about with the Smashing Machine is that the film, all of the actors and the director are all being talked about in the conversation for the Oscar as opposed to just one, right? And we were talking about earlier about, directors that I tend to gravitate to. Yorgos is one of those guys that I think is still that he's a true filmmaker. He's a true art lover, right? He tells stories and he's not scared to take risks. They're crazy ass stories. And it's, you either, these are the type films you're either all in on or you're like, don't want to go anywhere near it. You're like, don't get it. You don't understand it. You fucking hate it, right? There's no in between. You either love his films or you fucking hate his films. There's no in between. But I like that he's still an artist and takes that risk. My concern with this, and I love this film, the trailer and everything I'm seeing out of this film, I think it's going to be another amazing film, and definitely stay in the conversation. My only concern is, it goes back to what Paula was saying earlier, is this is now the third or fourth year in a row where he has a film with these particular actors that's generating Oscar buzz. And my concern is, are we going to die out from him? Are we going to get sick of seeing him, sick of seeing Emma Stone, sick of hearing the conversation about how they're at the Oscars or how they're Oscar worthy? I think if I was a studio and I would have a conversation with Yorgos, I would sign, one of those first look deals and lock him down. But I would have the conversation of, we need to spread these out a bit more. We can't every year put out a film because people they'll tire of you. They won't keep wanting to see you. It's what happened to Marvel. We were so inundated with Marvel, we got tired of seeing Marvel. I think the first 10 years of Marvel worked so well is because you had to wait a bit in between. You had to build up the anticipation to see the next one. Yorgos, in my opinion, is running into that potential wall where slow down. You're a great filmmaker. You've got great actors. You're delivering great performances. But people will get sick of you if that's all we see all the time is you. So that would be my only critique. But again, this looks like another one where, I mean, Emma Stone is just going to knock it out of the fucking park. I mean, and I love Jesse Plemons too. I think he's a highly underrated actor who always delivers. And I'm glad Yorgos sees that and keeps putting him in stuff because Jesse's great. So, thoughts? What do you think?
I love Yorgos Lanthimos. I've been trying to watch more of his movies, but I saw Poor Things in theaters. I saw The Favorite, and I'm so excited for Begonia. I do agree with what you're saying about there's a chance that this could be, you know, in the limelight for too long and then people get sick of it. But because his films aren't connected the way that Marvel is,
No, yeah,
I think
totally.
yeah, I think it's less likely that people will get sick of it. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But I also believe that Emma Stone is like a once in a generation type of actress that she's playing these characters that are so different, and she, you know, shaved her head for this role. Like I like to think that maybe she'll be the exception.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I was going to say she's one of those actors that recognized early on she was starting to get typecast. She was starting to get locked into this is what people expect from Emma Stone. And she took that drastic risk, like, let me go find a movie that's going to fuck things up. People are going to be like, whoa, what is Emma Stone doing? And she's never looked back. She is just like, I'm an actress and I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to go get it. And I am not going to be typecast as the girl next door friendly redhead who gets in trouble sometimes. And she knocked it out of the park. And I think that, you know, sometimes in order to have longevity in this industry, you have to be willing to take chances like that. And that is a chance. That was either going to work or people were going to be like, this is not who we want to see Emma Stone as, and we're not going to go watch her. But it clearly worked. And so you got to take that chance, right?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. But I mean, other films have been making headway on social media. They have been making, you know, impacts in the filmmaking community in general. I mean, I know, of course, Frankenstein, super excited about that one. That one got a 13-minute applause. The Testament of Ann Lee, the Mona Festival directed historical musical drama.
Yeah.
That one also got 15 minutes. Julia Roberts is coming back to the limelight to throw her name in the hat of the Academy Awards again with her emotional new film, After the Hunt. That one received about 6 minutes. You see a trend. It's either 15 minutes or 6 minutes. So it's like, is this really good? Or is this like, pretty good? So that one's very cool as well. But I mean, other names that have been thrown out for potential Oscar contenders are like Sinners, The Sentimental Value, Marty Soprano with Timothy Chalamet, Jay Kelly, Hamnet that we were talking about earlier, Wicked for Good, of course, Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, After the Hunt, like I just said, The House of Dynamite, and It Was Just an Accident, just to name a few. And of course, there's probably going to be more films that come out from there. But man, oh man, from what I've seen, this is probably the most excited I've been about the Oscar contenders in the last like 3 or 4 years, because all of these concepts seem very different, very out there, very I feel like watchable, because sometimes the Academy Awards and the Academy, they pick films that can sometimes not be watchable because they're just so far out there. But I feel like the majority of these should have a little bit of commercial success, right? I mean, do y'all agree? Because there's always that notion that all of these awards that get nominated, no one's ever heard of, no one's ever seen. But I feel like this year it's shaping up to be more mainstream than it has been the past couple years.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think there's going to be a few hit or misses. Those films that you all listed, that's the current Vegas odds. Those are the films that are at the top of the list of most likely to get the nominations. I think Jay Kelly might be one of those where it's going to be a fantastic performance by Clooney and Adam Sandler, and it's going to miss. It's going to be it won't be a box office success. Sandler fans will go see it. Maybe Clooney fans will go see it. It won't be an overall success. Wicked for Good obviously will be a massive box office. The one out of all those contenders, Sinners obviously was massive, but the one out of all those contenders currently at the top of the list of most likely to get nomination that I thought was the most interesting, because it's not getting a lot of talk, and yet every festival wanted it to be at the festival and be on opening night, and that's Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. I mean, we were reporting on it for the last month and a half on ITCAF about, seemed like every week in industry news we were saying, this festival just announced that Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere is going to open up the festival. And so it's got to be really fucking good if every festival wants to debut it on opening night. So, and yet it's not generating the same type buzz as some of these other movies, which is like, why is that? Is it that great film, or are we just trying to bank on the success of The Bear right now and we want to like, or what is the legit deal with that? So that's the one I'm kind of keeping my eye on, is like, is it what it is, or are they trying to capitalize on his fame a little bit? And you know, we'll keep an eye on that one.
Dude, that one right there, I think, like, I just have a feeling it's not going to be great. I just have a feeling that it's not going to be good. I don't know why.
The trailer was a little underwhelming to me. I'm not going to lie to you. I the trailer finally came out, and I went and saw, what did I go see? I can't even remember. Maybe Weapons. But it was finally out. The trailer was finally in the front of the movie, and yeah, I just, it didn't fire me up like the Bob Dylan film. Yeah, it just, it didn't. It was like, oh, this is interesting, but I just, and I hate to say this. I really hate to say this because I love Jeremy Allen White, and he's a fantastic, phenomenal actor, and just everything he's in so far has hit for me. I'm not buying him as Bruce. I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy it as Bruce. And in order for this film to work, you're going to have to buy him as Bruce. And even in the trailer, from what I saw, I don't buy him as Bruce. I just didn't, it didn't sell me. I'm sorry, but it didn't sell me.
Yeah.
I agree. I also think I'm just sick of biopics, honestly. They're always nominated for Oscars, and sometimes it feels like bait, but yeah, no. Springsteen, we'll see. We'll see when the next trailer comes out, but yeah, I'm like 50-50 right now.
Right? That first one was a little underwhelming, right? Like,
for sure. Yeah, I think for me, I'm most like excited about Marty Supreme.
That
like
looks
Bob
phenomenal.
Dylan. Dude, it's so weird. Like, what? We're making a movie about a freaking table tennis guy, like, who kind of has like a mommy obsession, like, or a fetish. Like, it's a little weird, but he plays it so good. But I think obviously, a complete unknown won me over for Timothy's freaking performances and as an actor, his credibility and thing. But his speech that he delivered last year at the SAG-AFTRA Awards, that, like, it really won me over. He wants to be one of the greats. He wants to be in the conversation. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, from my generation, around my age, like, who has that, like, drive and determination like I do. So, like, that's what really won me over. So that's the film that I'm most looking forward to see.
The thing that really hit me with that speech too is because you can look at that speech if you're not watching it in context, right? You don't watch the full speech saying, I want to be one of the greats, I want to win a ton of Oscars, I want to be like, big movie star. You can look at it, but if you listen to the speech, it's all about the art. He wants to be one of the great actors of our generation. Not I want to have the most Oscars, not I want to be the biggest movie star. He wants to be a name that will be remembered, a legacy as a generational actor that people never forget. And that's about the art. And I think that we're starting to see that, because he was very typecast early too, which is why I think you hated him so much, Logan. But now he's swinging. He's taking swings and he's taking chances. This character in Marty Supreme, very different from playing Bob Dylan and very different from the Dune character. He's finally taken some swings, and you're starting to see that range, and that's how you become one of those legacy actors and one of the greatest of all time, is taking those swings. And I think you're finally seeing that with Timothy, and I hope he continues that. I hope he does.
Yeah, he said that in the speech, and I believe it. I do believe that he's going to be one of the greats. Like, he has it in him. He's been around long enough. I know he's, like, young, but he has been around long enough for me to consider him one of the greats. So, yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. What films are y'all looking most forward to?
I would totally agree with you. I think I'm really excited about Bugonia. I'm really excited about Marty Supreme. You know me and my Clooney thing. I can't get. I want to see Sandler, but I Do
Yes.
I? I
He doesn't
can't.
like George
I'm
Clooney.
gonna watch
He
it
doesn't
on a
like
step.
George
No,
Clooney.
no, I don't like George Clooney because he's a
He thinks his
bobblehead
head
every
just
time.
always
Watch
stops
any
or
movie
doesn't start
when
bobble.
he's
Yeah.
acting, he's bobbling his head. Yeah, that's how you can. In real life interviews, when he's being interviewed, that's when you can tell he's starting to lie because he'll bobble his head. Now, he's acting. What he's saying ain't true. Just anybody who doesn't believe me, there's even a meme. I'm not the only one who thinks that. This motherfucker bobbles his head when he acts. It's just like
so
somebody hold still, put a brace on him until teach him how to not move his head while he's acting. So I am excited. That movie sounds like it's going to be really good, but I just don't know if I can if I can do it. So it was just an accident. I think if I had to pick, it's Marty Supreme, It Was Just an Accident, and Bugonia. Those are the ones that have me fired up. And I am, and we have to say this because you said it at the top of the show, so I want your pick on Frankenstein, Paula. But I'm not sold on Jacob, so I am really curious to see. Yo, look at that reaction. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jacob. I just don't think he's all that. I think he's overhyped, and I'm hoping that this movie can change my mind. I want to see what he delivers because playing the monster is difficult. It's not no easy thing, So I want to see what he delivers, and so I'm a bit curious about that one too. And yeah, your face said it all right there.
No, I'm very excited for Frankenstein. That's probably the one that I'm the most excited for, next to like Begonia as well. And House of Dynamite, weirdly enough, I was just looking at the synopsis and I was like, okay, political thriller, yeah, I'm in. But
We
as
love
for Jacob
political
Elordi,
thrillers.
yeah, I think I've only seen him in Euphoria. I could be wrong. But he killed it in that, and that's kind of what sent him into the superstardom.
It is.
But yeah, I also heard rave reviews about his performance in Frankenstein, so we'll see. But I'm betting on him. So
Okay. All right.
I love it. I love it. Well, fantastic. Great conversation to round out the industry news segment. That's for sure. A lot of other stuff happening in Hollywood. And of course, if you just follow us at ITCAFpodcast, you will stay up to date with all the latest and greatest things happening in the entertainment industry. That is for sure. But now we are heading over to our top 5 segment, man. And this week is films to not watch by yourself. And I'm loving the list so far, going through and seeing what y'all pick. And I'm interested to hear y'all's reason. So for this top 5, Miss Paula, since you are, of course, our special guest, we would like for you to go first. So we always start out with 5 and work our way up to the top.
yes, so 5 films to not watch by yourself. I have Us. That movie I watched with my roommates, and it's just one of those films that once you're done with it, you kind of have like a 30-minute conversation with your roommates. At least I did, about like, what would you do? And what did we just watch? And oh my God, I just really like that movie. I'm a fan of Jordan Peele. And that's one movie that I will put on there. Next, I have.
Wait. We got to do 5, and then we go 4, then we go 3. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
That's all right. You're fine.
I'm
You're
jumping
fine.
the gun.
We got to build
You're
anticipation.
excited. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
so funny. Well, I mean, it's not gonna be long until we get back to you because number 5 for both Dustin and myself is Dead Poet Society.
Yeah.
Of course, this film dealing heavily with adolescence and the I guess acceptance of suicide and parents not being who you want them to be in your life and not being that particular role model who you want to look up to, but then that parent never shows you love. And it's a deep rooted emotional film that you definitely think about in a different way now, especially since Robin Williams was in it and especially since his life was taken the way it was. It's one of those impactful films that definitely makes you think about your own mental health, your own standing, who your support system is, and it makes you kind of check in with yourself to make sure you're okay. So when you do that, you want to make sure you're with other people because if they're going through the same process, you can have conversations about furthering mental health. That's why I think that film specifically is important to watch with other people to open up the conversation about mental health.
Yeah, I this one's a tough one to watch in the sense that I think if you've ever gone through anything in your life traumatic, especially young, right? If you've had any type of, hardship in your young life, this is one that you know, because like you said, there are failures with parents, and there's failures with identity and trying to fit in, trying to find a group that accepts you for who you are, and what that does to your mental health when your family doesn't acknowledge, you know, who you really are. They just want you to be what they want you to be, and trying to find that group. And when you find that group, and then that doesn't go the way you need it to go, and it leads to the tragedy that this movie leads to. Yeah, it's difficult to watch. This is a movie for me that, you know, it's very heavy, and the reason I don't like to watch it alone is because every time I watch it alone, I end up in tears and in a very dark place. And I feel like if I'm watching it with somebody, there's somebody there to get me out of that dark place, so that I don't just spend the next 3 hours after watching it in that dark place, reliving any traumatic event in my life over and over and over, kind of thing. I feel like this is a movie where I need somebody to go, okay, that was deep, that was heavy, let's drag out of that and go do something else, you know, kind of a thing. So that's why I put it on my list. It's definitely one that I love. I think it's a beautiful film, but one that I think you need some pulling away from after you watch it immediately.
Yeah, that's for sure. Have you ever seen that one, Paula?
Yeah, no, I watched that for the first time, I think last year, and that's one of those movies along with oh my gosh, it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Why am I
Good Will Hunting?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I watched both of those in like a week actually, and those feel
Nice.
very similar.
Yeah.
And those are those kinds of movies that you watch it once and then you wait like 3 years and then you watch it again
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just so emotional.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I hadn't seen Dead Poets Society from the first time that I watched it until Robin Williams died, and then I went back and watched it, and then I'm like, "Fuck, this was the worst possible time to rewatch it."
Yeah.
You know, you forget what the
Oh,
story's
man.
about, and then you're like, "Oh shit, why did I?"
Yeah,
And I
that's
cried
rough.
for 4 hours. It was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, this is horrible."
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Oh man. Well, it is time for your number 4, Paula. So let's get it.
Yes. My number four pick, shifting from like the horror, is Little Miss Sunshine. I
Mm,
also watched that for the first time, I think like 2 weeks ago, and I watched
mhm.
that with my family. It's cute, it's a coming of age, it's funny. It has a little bit for everybody, and I think that's just a movie that like is a comfort watch and it's better with others.
Mm.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, because I feel like, for me, that type of film would probably be like either like Toy Story or like the Inside Out films or things like that. Good family films about families. Of course, there's this main central character, but like to have that camaraderie that you see the character going through, and then you look around, and you're like, you know what? I have that too. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I have going on. So
yeah.
that's a good point. I didn't even think about doing that for my list, and that's why we love
Yeah.
doing the top five because I thought about one of my films specifically is kind of in the same vein as that specific thought process. But I love that. Thank you for that. That's awesome. And then my number 4 is super dark, super wild. Definitely do not watch it by yourself. We've talked about this film relentlessly. It's wild. What's in the damn box? I'm talking about Seven. It was
Yes.
literally talked about it our last episode because I think character reveals. I think Dustin had it on his top 5 character reveals.
Yeah.
With Kaiser, or not Kaiser, so say with Kevin Spacey, who is of course Kaiser. Okay, but yeah, the Seven Deadly Sins and the gluttony one. That one literally almost made me throw up. And it was in a dark room, and like I felt like you could smell through the screen. Maybe that's what AMC should do next. Have freaking the smell sensors. Maybe they should be able to smell movies. But anyway, yeah, this film is really dark. It's really wild. Of course, it's about a serial killer who kills people in the way of the said Seven Deadly Sins, and we've talked about it a lot. Very dark, a very roller coaster of a ride. A great cinematic experience. David Fincher is a little off in the head, but that's why we love him. But yeah, Seven, my number 4 pick.
Ooh, that's like, yeah, because of what we talked about before with my reveal. I think it's one of, like, maybe one of the best films ever. I mean, storytelling, everything about it, I thought was like fantastic. So I'm right there with you. It's funny because I have 2 Stanley Kubrick films in a row coming, like, but he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, but he puts out some scary shit, So my number 4, I think it was ahead of its time. I really do. It's kind of a war protest film, but where I think it was ahead of its time is, and of, granted, it's the Marines. Okay, we've heard about how tough they are and all that kind of. But I think this film was so ahead of its time because this film shows the direct result of when you relentlessly attack someone, relentlessly bully them, relentlessly call them out, belittle them, demean them, and the shit that goes down with that and how your mental health deteriorates to a point where you just can't take it anymore. I'm talking about Full Metal Jacket. And I mean, for anybody who's seen it, Vincent D'Onofrio, Gomer, drill sergeant, just relentless in his brutal takedown of bullying and demeaning and just mentally and physically harming this man, which ends tragically where he loses it. He loses all facility, all mental health, and just goes down this dark rabbit hole. And it's one of the most disturbing scenes I think I've ever seen on film, when he is sitting on that toilet with that gun, and Drill Sergeant doesn't even recognize. Drill Sergeant comes in there, starts hammering him, starts like ripping him apart, like, this guy's here because of this, and you're not even paying attention. And of course, ends tragically for the Drill Sergeant and for Gomer, who takes his own life. But yeah, it's a hard one for me to watch because it is a stark look at what can happen to mental health when you are the victim of someone going at you like that, and the tragedy that we see play out from it. And it clearly was ahead of its time in the sense of, we see this in society every day now. I mean, when we're seeing all these school shootings or these these mass killings, we find out from the manifestos that these are people that have been bullied by certain groups their entire life and hammered for who they are. And this is the tragic result of where that ends up. And this movie, it delivered. Stanley Kubrick is not afraid to show realism and authenticity and what life is really all about. And Full Metal Jacket is one of those films. So my number 4, Full Metal Jacket, and Vincent D'Onofrio. That film certainly made him a household name. What a performance, man. What a performance.
Yeah. Great pick, man. Great pick. Yeah, I also love what's his face, Matthew Modine in it.
Yeah, Joker. yeah. And
So
Ralph
good,
Emmer,
man.
I mean, he literally from Seven, the boss, the head, the captain, he got that role because of this guy was like just brilliant, like an unknown who basically his audition was a 12-minute audition tape of him just off the cuff ad-libbing insults as the drill sergeant.
Yeah.
They're like,
Because wasn't he a
Kubrick's
drill
like,
sergeant in real life? Like, wasn't he?
yeah,
like, a
yeah,
part of-
yeah. And Kubrick's like, fuck yeah, I love this guy. Let's go, And it was just,
Yeah, iconic character that he played for the rest of his life.
Yeah, even in
basically.
Toy Story, he's the angry army soldier, the voice of the
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
just crazy.
My number 3 wait, I was about to skip you, Paula. I'm sorry. I'm just so like not used to having a third person. Your number 3.
My number 3 is Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah, I watched that after the Oscars. And when I saw like Messi the dog on the screen, I was like, I need to watch what he's in. So I did, and it's a murder mystery. I loved it, and it's one of those movies that doesn't get resolved in the end. You still don't know if the woman killed her husband or not, and those are one of those movies that I need other people there because maybe they saw something that I didn't, or they have a different opinion, and I just need everyone on board to be like, okay, what do you think happened? And
Yeah.
love that movie. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I still have not seen that one yet. I definitely
recommend
need
it.
to.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that. I haven't seen Little Miss Sunshine either, just letting you know.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
I think it's great.
Am I missing out on life? Am I
Two
not,
films
like-
that you need to add to the list, my friend.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. There's always so much. My number 3 goes to Empire Strikes Back. Of course, Star Wars. I think the whole first initial trilogy you should watch with other people, especially people who either, it's kind of like the people who are grandfathered in or the people who came out like I don't even know. The original Star Wars trilogy is something like a time capsule that I feel like each generation has to open up with the younger generation to show them what this cinematic experience was. Because what Star Wars, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi did for the sci-fi genre was completely take it and turn it into a franchise money-making machine and a new way to tell stories through filmmaking. And I think what Empire Strikes Back does is show you that a sci-fi movie about these aliens and this whole different galaxy with these people traveling to different worlds and this ancient religion, it shows you that different types of stories can be fit into different genres. It doesn't need to be so cookie cutter. And of course, when the big reveal that Darth Vader is Luke's father, you have to be there when a kid first sees that for the first time, because I feel like that's just such a jaw-dropping moment that will continue to bring conversation, and it'll be a great memory, especially for the parents too, that they'll be able to see. I remember when I felt that way when I was a kid. So yeah, that's a great freaking reason. And that's kind of where my Little Miss Sunshine comment came from too, where you just want to have your family with you that have seen the film before, so they can, anticipate your reaction when that time comes. So yeah, number 3 for me, Empire Strikes Back.
And when you think about the story and history behind that, first of all, if you're like from my generation, you didn't even know it was chapter 4, 5, and 6 because you had no idea there was going to be prequels before it, right? You just thought this was the film. So, so wait a minute, what do you mean we're in the middle of a 9-film trilogy? What? Yeah, when they renamed it A New Hope, because in my day it was just Star Wars. It wasn't A New Hope. There was no such thing. But the story behind that, that movie was passed on by every single studio. Every studio, including 20th Century Fox. The only reason 20th Century Fox agreed to do it is because Lucas said, I'll finance it myself in exchange for box office profits. And they were like, good deal, because they thought it was going to bomb. They were like, well, we're not going to have to pay him shit out of the box office profits because it ain't going to make any money. And he's going to pay for the whole thing himself. So this is a win-win. Oops. To this day, they're still regretting that deal because he's still banking off box office profits and they ain't seeing shit from that. It was just one of those legendary deals that just worked, and the rest is history, man. So good one to put on the list. My number 3, another Kubrick film, and it's another stark look at reality, and it's the difference. It's the opposite side of the spectrum of Full Metal Jacket, in the sense that this was a person who was just trying to be a good guy and was bullied to the point and tortured to the point and driven to the point with the tragedy that happened. A Clockwork Orange is the other side of that dynamic, where there are just people that are pure evil. And if you've seen A Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell's character in this film is just evil incarnate. He's pure evil. This film is about a psychotic guy and his group of dogs that go on a murder and sex rampage, raping and killing people nonstop. It is violent. It is nasty. It is dirty. He finally gets arrested and he's forced to go through this program where time can be reduced on his sentence, but it's like a reconditioning program where your violence is taken out of you. You're forced to look at it and blah, blah. Well, of course, he goes through the program and sure, he's fixed. And then he comes out and he's not fixed. He's crazier than, more evil than ever. And it's just like, but this movie is extremely hard to watch because it is massively violent and massively terrifying. The rape sequences and the brutal murders are just like, if you're watching this thing by yourself, you're probably terrified to close your eyes after watching it because you're like, holy shit, that kind of evil exists? And then you're faced with the stark reality that, yes, that kind of evil does exist. And you're terrified from that point on. So yeah, my number 3, and I definitely never watched this thing alone, A Clockwork Orange. Again, though, Stanley Kubrick being the master filmmaker that he is, this is the film that catapulted Malcolm McDowell to household name and worldwide fame. I mean, even though the character that he played, nobody ever wanted to fucking see again, but it launched him, and he never looked back. And man, it's a true film. If you're a filmmaker, you should be watching it, because it is a masterclass in how to tell a really disturbing film. A Clockwork Orange, Stanley Kubrick, man.
Very nice. Very nice. Miss Paula, your number 2.
Yes, my number 2 pick is a movie I did watch by myself, but I wish I didn't. Death Becomes Her. I think this is one of the funniest movies, the campiest movie. It's a star-studded cast. You have Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, Isabella Rossellini. It's just so much fun, and I know it could be like a cute like movie night with the girls or like with the guys or whatever. I just think it's so fun, and it's an opportunity missed if you don't watch it with others.
No, nice, fantastic. Well, I'll definitely have to check that one out as well.
Wait, you haven't seen that one either?
No, I haven't.
Death Becomes Her. It's so good.
Sometimes the over-the-top camp works, and sometimes it doesn't. It works in this film. It works. You know, it just does. It's fun to watch. It's like you want it to be over the. It's like Batman back from the '60s, right? It was so over-the-top campy that it just was fun to watch. That's this film, and yeah. Wow, Logan.
Very fun, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Listen.
It's fine.
Number 2 for me and Dustin is Philadelphia. This film I feel like should be obvious. I did watch this one by myself for the first time, and it did put me in a depressional state. Of course, about the AIDS epidemic. Was it an epidemic? Was it a pandemic?
It was at the start of. It was before they really knew what AIDS was. Yeah. And it was still being deemed the gay disease, and it was at a time where we were still unsure of what it was, how you got it, was it, how it was contracted. It was so it was at the forefront of leaning into setting the facts on this disease. Yeah.
Like, I think people should watch it with other people, obviously, because it's kind of a depressing movie. Obviously, Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks dies at the very end of it. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But
wait,
yeah,
what?
I know. I didn't know they took the old Yeller out back and shot her. But anyway, yeah, I do feel like you should watch Philadelphia with people who experienced the 90s, who experienced what it was like during that time, because the 90s and AIDS was such a big thing, man. So, I mean, that's from more of an educational standpoint and what life was actually like during that time. That's why I think you should watch it with other people. So, yeah, Philadelphia for me.
This film was really hard for me to watch. I went and saw it with somebody that's extremely important to me. And at the time, she had just lost an uncle to AIDS. And was so she broke down watching it, obviously, which made me break down watching it. And it was this movie, though, is about so much more than just AIDS. It's about love, and it's about that relationship between Antonio Banderas and Tom Hanks's characters, and about the betrayal and then forgiveness, and how you sometimes, when you love somebody so dearly, forgiveness is there, it's valid, and it was a mistake that he had to get over, the initial anger and hatred towards what he did to him, but then the true love and forgiveness comes as he is by his bedside as he deals with the tragic ending. It's about so much more than just the disease itself, which made it even more hard for me, because I went through very much that, we had a little problem there with my close person, and I had that hate moment, and I said something I will regret the rest of my life, even though there's been forgiveness and we've moved past it. But I literally said, I hope you die like your uncle from AIDS, to right at pretty much not far after we'd seen this movie. And when the hurt on the face of when you make a comment like that to somebody who has lost somebody from, after just going through that emotional bonding with them. It's like, but that shows you the power of this movie. And like when you're elevated to a state of you say something you can never take back, but never meant to say, and you regret the rest. You know, it's one of those type oh shit moments, which is why I can't watch this thing by myself, because it brings up that horrible time frame in my life, and I'm like, fuck, I just So Philadelphia.
Anyway, Paula, you have joined us for an Everything's Okay podcast.
Yeah.
Here we are
Sounds
talking.
like it.
Yeah,
Here we are. Here we are. I knew
Goodness
this
gracious.
category was gonna cause some stuff, though. It's just like one of those
Yeah.
things.
For sure, for sure. What about you? Number one. Here we are.
Number one. Okay, this is a movie that I did watch by myself for the first time, and towards the end of the, I don't know, like 30 minutes before it ended, I was literally watching it like this. It is Hereditary. Oh my God. And then the second time I watched it, which was with people, I was still like this, but with everyone else, so it felt safer. I think everyone should watch a horror movie in a theater with everyone to get that feeling.
Yes.
And Hereditary is just, I think it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Like, I still don't know what the ending is because I was watching it like this, you know? It's so, I don't know. I can't even explain it, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Hereditary.
Yeah, it's so funny because Dustin and I both went and saw it. I'm pretty sure we saw it together in
Yeah.
theaters, and we were massively confused. I don't know if we didn't jump on the Jordan Peele train quick enough, because I think what he did with Get Out kind of transformed the whole horror industry. So
Yeah.
maybe if we have seen Get Out before Hereditary, it would have been more scary. But yeah, because I remember I need to go back and rewatch it, but I remember walking out of the theater and being like, I'm confused. What just happened? I'm what? But yeah, I mean, but that's the beauty of film. I mean, there's so many different interpretations, and especially now with
Well-
horror, the genre being so out there, and you have to think so much. Definitely have to go back and put this on my rewatch list. So I love that you put that up there, because this film is very like timely and important to specifically your generation, a little bit older than you and younger than me. So it is very interesting to how film touches people in different ways with different generations. So that's awesome to hear.
Were you
Um,
freaked out by the telephone pole? Like,
Love the
No, not
telephone
even
pole.
that. Weirdly enough, it was like right at the end when you've both seen it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
So the mom is like banging her head
yeah,
on the
yeah.
door. Oh, like this, it's just like the sounds and the visuals. It's no, the
See-
first like, I don't know, 75% of the movie I was good. It's
Mhm.
just the end where it just gets so batshit crazy and I
Yeah.
just am overwhelmed and overstimulated. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like Logan said, I was back and forth with like, what is the story they're trying to tell here? What are they doing? But I really, and I don't know what this says about me, but I was laughing throughout it. I thought
roommate was laughing. My
I
roommate was
just
laughing.
thought it was more humorous than scary. And the only thing that captured my attention is when that head is taken off by the pole. I was just
That
like,
was so crazy.
oh, finally a
Yeah.
jump scare. And that's the last jump scare I've had in like years. Like, I laugh at horror films. And I know this was a very dark subject matter, and it was a very twisted story, and it dealt with a lot of really intense things, but I was laughing throughout. I'm like, this is fucking funny to me. I don't know. And then that scene came, and I'm like, now that was an unexpected scene that nobody was like,
Yeah.
wait, whoa. And then, and then I started laughing again. And Logan, I don't know, I may or may not, right? You can remember. I'm pretty sure I laughed when the head came off. It was a
Yeah, it
jump
was
scare,
crazy.
and then I laughed. I was like, holy shit, that was great. And everybody's looking at me like, dude,
Yeah.
like, it was literally decapitated and you're laughing. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't
funny.
know.
So funny. Well, my number one pick is kind of like terrifying to me. I think it's still the scariest movie I've watched, especially with how I reacted to it and how I reacted after the fact. But it's the Blair Witch Project. It's the first of that point of view filmmaking style, to where people didn't know if it was actually real or not. If you guys haven't seen this film, it's honestly crazy. Three people going into the woods to camp and then ghost hunt, if you will, and then they apparently stumble upon like witchcraft and people doing it in the woods, and there being a potential witch in the woods, and you don't even see the witch. Never. Spoiler alert. You never see her, but the anticipation is there the entire time, and that's why it made it absolutely terrifying. So yeah, I would definitely recommend not to watch that by yourself. I watched it with my now wife, then girlfriend, and man, oh man, we were scared. Like we watched it at night, like with the lights off and everything, and that's the way you should watch a horror movie. So yeah, it was great. Number one for me, Blair Witch Project.
And launched the that genre
Paranormal
of
Activity,
paranormal,
like,
like,
all that
yeah,
shit.
yeah, the
Yeah.
caught on tape type movies. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just like, and a lot of people are like wishing it hadn't launched all those movies. It's like enough is enough. My number one, and I won't even go too much into this one because anybody who knows me and has been listening to the show for a while knows that this one was really tough, and I still won't watch it alone. Can't watch it alone. The Champ, with Jon Voight and Ricky Schroeder, who I'm sure many people have many opinions about both of them nowadays. But let's forget all that and go back to when they were just great actors. And The Champ came out literally just a couple of months after my dad had passed away. And obviously, if you know the premise of the story, it's about a young Ricky Schroeder whose dad is a boxer who's trying to make a comeback and basically wins the fight but takes an ass whooping and dies on the table afterwards. And Ricky Schroeder, has a hard time accepting the death, and it's just a really traumatic, moving scene at the end when he's like laying literally on top of his dad, profusely crying, saying, come back, Timmy, come on, champ, wake up, and he's got to be dragged out, and yeah, it was basically one of those wake up, champ moments. Is like that's all that was like after just losing my dad. I was like, fuck, and I still can't watch this movie without just bursting into tears and bringing back that moment. So, my number one, The Champ. I don't watch it alone. And
He's getting choked up now.
It makes me
welcome
cry.
Back to Everything's Okay.
It makes me cry. I just that movie, that moment, the wake up, champ. Come on, champ. As if it was his fault that he's dead. Yeah, I can't. Let's move on. Fun stuff.
Yes, exactly. But we want to know, what is your favorite film to not watch by yourself? What is one that you did not watch by yourself that you're glad you watched with somebody else? Please let us know down in the comment section down below. Add us on X, Threads, Twitter, any of the good places. We love the fan interaction. Please.
Yes.
Now, blowing through the rest of the show, box office recap. Weapons, of course, for the Labor Day weekend came in at number one with $12.8 million. Number two was Jaws, the re-release for the 50th anniversary, came in at number two with $9.9 million. Freakier Friday came in at number 3 with $8.3 million. The Roses came in at number 4 with $8 million. That was his opening weekend, so that sucks. And number 5 was Caught Stealing with $7.9 million. That was also its opening weekend, which also sucks. New movies coming out this week that you can catch in cinemas near you. The Conjuring Last Rites. Super excited about that one. Huge, historical, epic, massive, popular horror franchise that apparently will putting a nice big red Annabelle bow on top of everything.
Yeah,
that goes.
Yeah.
But then we also have Hamilton coming to the theaters.
Like it was supposed to.
Yeah, we've been talking about this on social media the past couple days. We love Hamilton. This is such an awesome concept. I'm super excited to see what it's going to do box office wise. I definitely think it's going to be around K-pop Demon Hunters, around $20 million, but maybe a little bit more because they might have AMC theaters. So we'll see how that goes. And then also a re-release of Breakfast Club. So that's very exciting, especially for all you old people out there.
Whatever, man. It's a rite of passage for teenagers. Even the new generation's got to watch that bad boy. Come on. You got to see it. If you're a teenager, I don't think you're legally an adult unless you watch The Breakfast Club.
You can't have your driver's license.
That's right. It's a rite of passage. You got to watch it. You got it.
So funny. Movies you can still go see right now in select theaters near you. Superman, Fantastic Four First Step, The Bad Guys 2, Highest to Lowest, which is now on Apple TV Plus if you have that, and Nobody 2 as well. And of course, all of the ones that I listed above. And then heading over to the IMDb Pro's Top Trending segment, where the top trending movie is The Thursday Murder Club.
Which is not in theaters. Top trending movie, but it's not in theaters. Like, there you go.
Sounds about right. The top trending TV show is Dexter Resurrection, which is so good. Be sure to check that out on Paramount Plus. And then the top trending star is Sydney Chandler, of course.
Alien Earth, for anybody who's like, who's that? I don't recognize the name. She's Alien Earth. She was in Don't Worry, Darling. So you know her. You just don't know the name. If you see her, you're like, oh, her. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, that's our show for episode 307 of ITCAF Podcast. We have to thank Paula one more time for coming on the show. I'm sorry Dustin talks so much.
Whatever.
That's why he's the
no
mouth.
worries.
But yes, we're super happy that you were able to join us. Anytime you want to come back on, feel free. It was so freaking fun.
Yeah.
But then as we
I
do
had fun.
Good. I'm glad. As we do at the very end, we have our nice little title cards. Of course, everybody follow the company and podcast on social media. The company is at Crazy Ant Media. The podcast is at ITCAF Podcast. And then, of course, our mental health podcast, Everything's OKP on social media. And then, of course, you can follow us both personally, all three of us personally, on social media. Myself at J. Logan Austin. Dustin, you're at
Crazy Ant CEO. And Paula?
At Paula A. Elizondo.
There you go.
There we go. And then, of course, you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can learn a little bit of something about a little bit of everyone, our projects, us personally, and of course, get some amazing Crazy Ant Media gear. That is for sure. But yes, it was a great freaking episode, man. I loved the conversations. There was, some news that came out this week that, of course, like I said, we'll talk about more on social media and things like that. We've been making videos more so you get our thoughts and opinions. But yeah, I'm glad. I like when we can do our standard show when we hit the stories, but I also like our conversation pieces. Yeah. They're fun and free flowing, right?
Yeah, and and it's always not. It's weird because this week, you're kind of like the middle guy, right? It's
age-wise,
yeah. You got me, and then you've got yours, and then we've got the current target demographic.
Boy, damn it!
Yeah, no, my friend, 30. You're knocking on 30. You're not that young demo anymore. But it was really interesting to. Yeah, at some point you're gonna be me, bro, and then someone else is gonna be the young one. But I liked the because it was funny to see how much we all agree on, and then the differences that we each had in the thought process of, and that shows a good makeup of where we are in society, and maybe if the AMCs and the Regals and the people out there will check out the podcast, they can get the perspective from three different age groups and go, okay, well, where do we have to focus? How do we get all three of these groups into the theater, right? And I think it's because of conversations like this that maybe can help make that happen. And because you can see we had a lot in common of our thought process and then had little bits of differences. And that's where, people should focus. It's like, how can we blend those differences into the kind of a thing. But yeah, I'm right there. I really like when we dive deep into the conversations and get some thought, man. It's fun.
For sure. Paula, any final thoughts of this episode?
It was good. I agree. I do think I am more on board with the conversation type of segments, but I also think it's important to go over what's actually happening. So a good mix of both is probably ideal. But no, I had fun. Yeah, It was great.
Fantastic. And as we always do, because ever since a film that came out a couple years ago, A Wrinkle in Time, the one and only has been in our hearts, and we love her, and we're trying to get her on the show, which would be amazing.
Come on! Yeah.
The one, the only,
Oprah!